I'm Mario Fernandez, and welcome to this edition of WBLN for May 17th, 2018. The Belen 8th grade class has been working on a mousetrap car. With the help of their teachers, they successfully completed their project. Christian Bargueras has more on the story.
The 8th grade science classes are currently working rigorously on a project in which they build a car that is powered by a mousetrap. They split up into groups and begin the creation of their cars. They are using these cars to further their learning of simple machines and how they are used together in the real world.
Being able to apply the concepts that we learn in class through notes and apply them to the mousetrap car and see how they actually work. So it reinforces everything I taught in class due to acceleration, speed, kinetic energy, potential energy.
The students working on these projects can use materials ranging from sturdy wood to plastic Legos. Each group came up with a wide range of ideas, from long wooden cars to short Lego cars. After trial and error, each group completed their cars, raced them, and measured their distance and speed.
Senate Judiciary transcripts make clear that at the 2016 Trump Tower meeting with Russians, Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr., was expecting the Russians to supply dirt on Hillary Clinton. This is despite President Trump, his son, and others repeatedly claiming otherwise. A Russian lobbyist present for the meeting told senators that Donald Trump Jr., quote, was definitely in charge, and after some small talk began by saying something to the effect of, "So you have some information for us?" In his own testimony, Donald Trump Jr. admitted that he was, quote, interested in listening to information about Hillary Clinton, adding, "I had no way of assessing where it came from, but I was willing to listen." This is a direct contradiction of the blatantly misleading story put out by the White House and Donald Trump Jr. claiming that the meeting was about adoptions. Those interviewed say, however, that the Russians did not deliver promised dirt and instead focused on their interest in removing U.S. sanctions on some Russians. Rob Goldstone, a British publicist who was in the room and helped arrange the meeting, says the focus of discussion began to infuriate Jared Kushner. After a few minutes of this labored presentation, Goldstone said, "Jared Kushner, who is sitting next to me, appeared somewhat agitated by this and said, 'I really have no idea what you're talking about.'" Don Jr. testified the meeting lasted 20 to 30 minutes, and at the conclusion, Goldstone apologized to him for what he believed was wasting our time. Donald Trump Jr. said he believed to be a, quote, pretty substantial delta between the meeting's original purpose and what actually took place. Asked if he was informed his father about the meeting and the Russians' offer to supply dirt on Clinton, Donald Jr. repeatedly said he did not, explaining that he, quote, wouldn't bring him anything that's unsubstantiated, especially from a guy like Rob, before I knew what it was actually about myself. However, shortly after arranging the meeting, Don Jr. made an 11-minute phone call to a block number. Asked if he remembers who that call was with, Trump Jr. said, "I don't." Democrats note, however, that former Trump campaign aide Corey Lewandowski testified before House members that candidate Trump's primary residence has a block number. A full year later, after the New York Times first broke the existence of the meeting, the White House initially claimed the meeting was only about adoptions. An explanation disproved when an email surfaced showing that Don Jr. accepted the meeting on the premise that Russians were bringing the expected dirt on Clinton. In his testimony, Don Jr. said he did not know what his father involved in drafting the initial misleading statement. "I never spoke to my father about it," he said, but the White House has acknowledged that the president himself took part in crafting the misleading response, a twist in the presidential race in Mexico. Margarita Zavala announced today that she is withdrawing her presidential bid. Zavala, wife of former President Felipe Calderón, was running as an independent candidate. The expectation is now to know who she will support. Mexican elections will be held on July 1st.
What's up, Belen? It's going to be looking a little wet today as we got storms coming in from the southeast coming down to us, and it's going to be scattered thunderstorms throughout the day. But let's look at today's forecast. Today's forecast has a high of 85 and a low of 73 with scattered thunderstorms and a 70% chance of rain. Now let's look at your 3-day forecast. Tomorrow we should have a high of 84 and a low of 73 with a 70% chance of rain. On Saturday you're going to have a high of 84 and a low of 73 as well with a 70% chance of rain as well. And Sunday's looking like a high of 83 and a low 74 with thunderstorms and 70% chance of rain. So as we go to the weekend, it's going to be very wet, and be careful out there with a lot of thunderstorms coming in. Now let's pass on to sports.
Thank you, Pinto. Here are sports for today. The varsity football team closes out their spring football season tomorrow with their game up in Lakeland, where they will face Kathleen High School, former high school of NFL Hall of Famer Ray Lewis. Best of luck to the team and hope they come out victorious. The Boston Celtics are one step closer to the NBA Finals after a comeback win versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Celtics are now up 2-0 in the series. LeBron James had his second consecutive triple-double in the series, but that wasn't enough to bring down Jaylen Brown and the Boston Celtics. Game 3 is scheduled for Saturday at 8:30 in Cleveland. Yesterday, the Houston Rockets tied up the series 1-1 versus the Golden State Warriors with a 127-105 win at home. James Harden led the Rockets with 27 points, and Eric Gordon with 26 coming off the bench. Kevin Durant led Golden State with a game-leading 38 points. Steph Curry didn't play much of a role, dropping a mere 16 points. Game 3 is set to be played on Monday at the Oracle Arena. That's all for sports. Let's pass it on to Mario at the desk.
Thank you, Danny. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. That's all our news from today. From everybody here at WBLN, have an amazing day, and may the news